Hey there Wargamers, Justin from Amp Services here with this week's X-Wing Wednesday video. This past Saturday I had the opportunity to run a tournament for a local shop, and it got me thinking about the topic of, should I participate in an X-Wing tournament? And I think the overwhelming answer for this question is yes, you should. Regardless of if you're a veteran or a new player, you should get out there and have fun. Now I know for the new players this may be a little bit daunting, especially if you're coming from games like Warhammer 40k or War Machine and Hordes. But this game's very balanced and the community is really awesome. By not participating in the events, you're not gaining any experience or learning anything new. I think that's the big thing, the big key to take away from going to a tournament, especially if you're a new player. I've ran one tournament and I've participated in two this year, and I would classify myself as towards the higher end of rookie status on X-Wing. I don't want to say I'm a veteran, but I'm getting to the point where I'm more comfortable with the game and I'm winning a little bit more. And I attribute that to playing more games and participating in tournaments even when I was scared. So there are a few things that may concern you with going to a tournament. First of all, you may be worried about losing. All I gotta say to that is, try not to worry about it. Don't take the game too seriously. Yes, you want to win, that's the objective, but as a new player, going to a tournament should be viewed as a learning experience. If you win some games, fantastic. But try and take away from each match something new. What is your opponent doing that you're not? Maybe it's how they deployed, how they used their asteroids, or more importantly for me, what upgrades are they using and how are they synergizing their ships. That is where I've learned the most from tournaments. Every tournament I went to, and including the one I ran, I saw some really interesting combos of gear and ship loadouts that really opened my eyes for things that I can try. So, go to the tournaments, don't focus just on winning, focus on what you can take away from it and what you can learn. The second issue you may have is, I don't have the right ships. Don't worry about that either. The first two tournaments that I went to, I brought ships that I owned, ships that I played, and ships I was familiar with. I think my build was solid given the stuff that I have, but if I had went in with a tournament winning list that I bought online and I wasn't familiar with the game, I probably wouldn't have done that well because I'm not sure how to fly the ships. So for you as a new player, don't worry about bringing the most competitive list. Worry about bringing ships that you're familiar with and that you've played, and a list that you are going to be able to do well with in your mind. I think in X-Wing Miniatures, one of the key selling points is the fact that if you are more familiar with your list than your opponent is with theirs, you've got an advantage. Even if your opponent has a stronger list or more meta-worthy list, if they don't know how to fly their ships, you've already got an advantage if you know how to fly yours. For example, in my first tournament that I went to, I ran a Kirax fighter, Talonbane Cobra, I ran a generic Z95, I ran Caval and a Y-Wing with a twin laser turret, and I ran a generic Y-Wing with a twin laser turret. I placed in the top 4, and I was ecstatic. I just wanted to go even, 2 and 2 or something like that, and I actually made top 4, and that's awesome. Because there were some issues at the tournament I wanted to address, going into my second tournament, I made an adjustment to my list, and that was a mistake in this particular case. I switched out my generic Y-Wing for one of the Scum Hawks. I forget the pilot's name. I think it was Torquil. But basically, at the start of the combat phase, he could choose a ship within range 1 to 2 and lower their pilot skill to 0. I figured, this is going to be awesome. It's really going to help my list with one of the weaknesses that I saw at the tournament. The problem was, and what cost me in some of my games, is I had never flown a Hawk before. I traded out a Y-Wing that I'm familiar with and know how it flies for a ship that I had literally never played with because I thought it was going to be more competitive. And it cost me some games. I had some tactical mistakes that I made. So for you as a new player, which is exactly what I'm getting at, if you bring a list you're familiar with, you've got an advantage, especially over someone who's not familiar with theirs, even if they've got a list that on paper is better than yours. So remember that. Going to a tournament, you're going to learn about new builds and new equipment cards, and you're also going to get more experience with your ships. The third thing that I think is really good for new players is preparing for a tournament. Playing casually is great, and I think that's awesome, and it's one of the things I like about the game. But part of going to a tournament is the preparation phase beforehand. You and your friends, if you decide to go together, can kind of get amped up and practice for the tournament. So you're able to take your list, get more repetitions in, get more learning games in, and your opponent the same, or in this case, your opponent who's your friend. So that helps you in the aspect of you're getting more experience. Even if this is pre-going to the tournament, you're getting more games in. And that's how you get better with X-Wing. The more games you play, the better you're going to fly, the better you're going to get, especially with gauging things on the table. When I first started X-Wing, I lost most of my games and I was horrible, but I kept at it. You got to get that mindset and, don't worry about losing. I know it's awful, no one wants to lose. But look at it as a learning experience. And I know that's super cliche, but if you can get your mind in that frame, you're better off. And that's why I think you should go to a tournament. You've got all these things that are going for you, and it's a huge learning experience. So if you're on the fence and you're really worried about whether you should go or not, just take the plunge. Go with some buddies and go open-minded, and just don't go in with delusions of grandeur if you don't think you're going to win. Just go in with the goal of, I want to play the best game of X-Wing I can and take something away from the tournament. So if you're a new player, let me know what you think. Do you think this little bit of a pep talk is useful for you? Have you had some experiences of your own you'd like to share? Let's get a discussion started below. Additionally, if you don't already know, I do get paid to paint, and I'm a commissioned artist. So if you'd like me to paint some X-Wing miniatures for you, or maybe some other tabletop game, click quote request now. Finally, if you haven't already, please give us a like on Facebook and consider subscribing to this channel if you enjoyed it. In closing, I'm going to be starting up a Patreon soon. Should be a link below. If you'd really like to support the channel, I'd really love your contributions, and I've got some cool things I'd like to give back to you for supporting the channel. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay tuned so that next time you'll get to access the next video very quickly. Hope you enjoyed, and as always, happy wargaming.